Welcome to the Demonstrating Implementation Excellence stream of the SNOMED CT Expo 2023. My name is Kai Keeley. I'm the Technical Implementation Support Specialist at SNOMED International. I will be moderating today's session. All questions will be answered at the conclusion of the presentation. Online attendees, please use the Q&A button to type your questions to the presenter. And to our on-site attendees, please use the microphone provided in the room. I'm now pleased to introduce Eirik from Contier, who will be presenting Get the Most Out of SNOMED CT, Get a Terminology Server. Eirik, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Kai. Really appreciate it. I think this presentation is about implementation and how to use technology in order to help you doing a good implementation. More specific about terminology server. This is me. My name is Eirik, and I'm a literature scientist, but I've been working with health informatics for 20 years or so. This is also Eirik. So he's
one name in Norway.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a SNOMED CT specialist, but he's also a clinical medical nurse. Yeah. So, overview of what we're going to talk about during this session. We're going to talk about how to make the terminology available for the end users. We're also going to talk about how a terminology server actually could be a good strategy in order to deliver the terminology to the end users. We're going to look at different use cases for our terminology server. And if we have the time, I think we're going to also to say a few words about how you can promote your service or services. But let's start with availability, how to distribute terminology to the end users. And we can start with Excel. Everybody has used Excel? Yeah. And we tend to love it, right? Because it's human readable and you're used to the Excel format. But is it a good strategy? I would say no. This is a spreadsheet where we have the concept wave-like pane, which is a kind of strange concept maybe. And we can see that SNOMED CT ID has become rather funky. So that's one of the problems. But another problem, if you have a very tiny population of SNOMED CT, you could use Excel. But it will be a nightmare to govern over time. And I also think you're putting a lot of workload on the end user. So what is this? This is the RF2 file. And what do we think about the RF2? We think it's beautiful in order to export the terminology and import the terminology between terminology servers. But this is my statement. Please bear with me, Kai. RF2 is neither human readable or machine readable, but please pay attention to out of the box. The files are completely machine readable, but you have to know SNOMED CT and the logic if you're going to use them in a good way. So that makes me think, is the file format kind of dead in order to distribute SNOMED CT? And I think maybe yes. And that leaves us to the API approach. And I'm 90% sure that everybody knows what API is, but for those who don't, it's not like a voodoo thing. It's a simple way for computers to share data. So it's quite easy actually. What is a good things about using an API approach? I think you have the opportunity to have real-time consumption, and you also can schedule reading, batch reading, as you do in Trondheim every month or so. so you can programmatically schedule loads into the system. Yeah, and another thing is that you don't have to load the whole terminology. You can load what you need and not everything else. If you're developing a nurse EHR, for instance, you can only load what you need. It's machine readable, obvious, and it's from our expression, it's very easy to combine data from multiple sources. I'm going to give you some examples of that later in the presentation. Okay, there are several. In order to use this API approach, you need a terminology server. And there are few of them out there. And I'm not in a position to say that Snowstorm is better or worse than other servers. But we have used Snowstorm since 2019. And yeah, it works perfectly. And it's very stable. We did one installation 4 years ago, and it's still up and running. It shouldn't be, because it should have been upgraded, but anyhow, it's still there, and it's in use actually in production. And it's free, it's open source, and it's quite easy to install. And I would like, could you say a few words about how to install the terminology server?
Yes. As Eirik mentioned, it's actually not that hard to install your own Snowstorm server. And as he also mentioned, it's open source, which means you can get it for free. You can go into GitHub and find the Snowstorm page, and then you can just clone it to your own computer or to your virtual computer, like this. And it takes about a minute, very fast and very easy. The next step, it's possible to do in different ways, but my experience is that Docker is the easiest and fastest way to install your Snowstorm installation. And in order to install it with Docker, you need to make sure you have enough memory. So you'll do this command here, and then you can just compose up. This is a bit technical, but then you will get 3 separate containers, one with the Elasticsearch, as you can see there, which Snowstorm is built upon, one with Snowstorm, and one with the browser, which probably most of you already are familiar with and have used to search for concepts. So when you have installed the Snowstorm installation, you're only halfway there, because you have the installation, but you don't have any content. So it's important also, of course, to download or import the SNOMED content. And then the RF2 files, an RF2 package, as Eirik mentioned, is very useful, because it's used to import the RF2 package. So you can go into Snowstorm, make an import job. You get an import ID for the job, and you just upload an RF2 package. I should also say that you need a license to get these packages. But you can just download here, and it takes about an hour, and then you will get your SNOMED content in your Snowstorm installation. And you can get it you will have it in your browser. You can search for concepts like pain in the head, and you find it there. And you will also, of course, have it in your Snowstorm, and you're able to search here as well. You can make more advanced searches. For example, you can search for specific terms, and you will get all concepts that have this term. Here you can see headache. Yeah. And then you will get the results for all concepts. So very fast and easy how you can implement a Snowstorm. Yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. And who could this be a good strategy for? I think everybody working with SNOMED CT has the 3 challenges. They need a way to store the terminology. They need some way to govern the terminology, and they need a way to distribute it to the end users. And if you check one of those bullets, I think you should consider to have your own terminology server, from my point of view. So the NCRs, obviously, but also like hospitals or companies like us who provide configuration of SNOMED CT, like map sets and subsets and that kind of stuff. I would also quickly speak a little bit about other possibilities with a terminology server, and that's develop and govern the terminology. And we have seen many great presentations during Expo with open source tools provided by SNOMED International. But from time to time, we actually create our own lightweight tools. This is an example of a tool Contair has created, and it's a way to govern patient-friendly language reference set in Norwegian. So it's a lightweight front-end application who actually does this very easy for us. This is another application developed by Johannes and Norwegian NRC. And it's a tool used for our national ref sets. So I can zoom in a little bit. So here you can see, you can also govern map sets. You can see all the fields in, all the attributes in the additional fields there. Yeah, and we also have a tool for creating new concepts. We don't create a lot of concepts, but from time to time we need a new metadata concept in order to create those subset or language reference sets. So if you go down this road, you also need a classificator, but we use the SNOMED International Classification Service. Then I would like to talk a little bit more about the big picture, and this is the Norwegian ecosystem. And it's about how we distribute the terminology to the end users. And in Norway, we don't expose Snowstorm directly to the end users. We could do it, but we don't. So we have developed this API who combine different sources, classifications like ICD, ICPC2, and so on. And combine it into useful data set for the healthcare service. And at the very top, you see the consumers. And yeah, Health Platform is represented here today. So they are one of the consumers. We also eat our own food. So we are using these APIs to create, we have created a browser, and we have actually created our own SNOMED CT browser. It's in order to simplify it. And as you can see here, this is for paracetamol. This is a clinical drug, right? Paracetamol 500 milligram tablet. And you can see maps to Norwegian brands in the Norwegian market. So that's another approach. You could model these brands, but we haven't done that. We have mapped to the Norwegian, the Norwegian brands. Maybe you should say a few words about FHIR and post coordination as well.
Yeah, I can just say shortly, but the Snowstorm installation also have some FHIR functionality, which means you can get some FHIR resource into the Snowstorm. Not all the resources, of course, but some of the relevant ones like code system and value set. Here you can see a value set, and what's interesting about this, you can make value sets based on like expression constraint language, for example. So in this example, we have headache and all descendants of headache, and then you will get all the concepts, and you can. This is like you can also make this as a defined value set where you give it a name and ID as well. So this is an option, and you can also do other logic to figure out the concepts you want to have in this value set. But it's a very convenient way to get a subset out of the terminology, in my experience. And also, I'm just going to mention this very briefly because it's a project I've been part of as well. Ulrik talked something about this yesterday, so I would recommend going back and listen to this. And Jan André is also going to have a talk just after this about dental data and the use of post coordinations. But yeah, I think it's actually you, Kai, who has been developing this, but it's the Snowstorm X. I think it gives a lot of new and exciting possibilities with the ability to have post coordinations and classify the post coordinations. This gives a lot of new opportunities, and you can like make ECLs, and it will the ECL will both find the cross-coordinated content and the pre-coordinated content. So in this example, we have from the dental health, it's like a dental procedure, I would say there. So that's a pre-coordinated concept, and it will also get all the post-coordinated concepts if you have, yeah. So that's it.
Great, we are talking so fast, so we are, I think we are on time. Okay, implementation is also about promoting your service. That's extremely important. And do you remember these two guys? Yeah, it's Gordon Gekko and Bud Fox from the iconic movie Wall Street. And let's bring these two fellows to 1923, and let's say they're running some kind of SNOMED CT company. And Bud comes up with this idea, hey Gordon, we need a terminology server. And then I'm pretty sure Gordon will answer something like this. Yeah, make sure it has a lot of endpoints and supports both ECLs and Firebud. Oh, this is what he said. So it's about the value. When you promote your service, think about the value for the end users. So we have developed some kind of, it's very easy, but some kind of 3-layer model for promoting the service. And the first layer is to focus on the user needs. Could you actually solve some pain in the healthcare service today? And I think this is a very good example from Norway, where we have these reference sets for GPs. You can start to use it right away. You are doing it in Trondheim. It's tailored. It's only the concept the GP needs, not everything else. It's recognizable. The terms are developed by the GPs, and it's compliant with the Norwegian law, which is very important. So get access to the reference set and use it today. Layer 2 is to develop some kind of start package. I think that's important. And from our experience, a first step could be to guide the vendors how to enable a SNOMED CT search, a primitive one, using the APIs. And the next step is to refine the language preferences. In Norway, we have 4 different language references, both New Norwegian, Northern Norwegian, but we also have context-specific language reference set for GPs, which are a little bit simplified, so to speak. And the second is, yeah, it's about guiding the customer, the end user, to the right available subsets, value sets, and that kind of stuff. And the third and last layer, the last step, is this in-depth documentation. And from my experience, we jump to this third layer too fast. We want to give all the in-depth documentation. It's very important. It's very important indeed, but I think we should, what we call in design thinking, progressive disclosure is the word for it. You show something and then you can dig down, dig down, dig down, dig deeper. So that was pretty much what we had, but before we let you go, we have some takeaways. And this is my opinion, okay? I would say never use file for distribute the terminology. Use an API approach. Unless, of course, you exchange the terminology between standardized and well-known SNOMED CT terminology servers. As Eirik demonstrated, Snowstorm is open source. It's free and it's reliable and very easy to set up. So that should be one option you could consider. Yeah, and terminology server is not only convenient for distribution, but also for storing and developing terminology like rep sets, language rep sets, and so on. And focus on the user, customers, and not yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eirik. Is that better?
Eirik, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, good. We'll now take questions. As a reminder, if you're in the room, please step up to the microphone. Any questions in the room? Looking. Yeah, great.
Hi, thanks for that very informative presentation. As we're also looking on embarking on the path of developing a FHIR-enabled server, I was just curious about the human component, like in terms of maintenance, how maintenance intensive is it? And in your experience, do you actually need like a lot of developers on your team? Because we're a lot of terminologists, so not a lot of technical experience. So if you could just give us your opinion on that. Thanks.
Yes, I can try. As I said, I'm not a developer, or my profession is actually, or my education is Russian literature. So, but I think you have to build something upon the endpoints in Snowstorm, of course. I hope those examples of very simple front-end application we can use for maintaining our container extension is a good example of how you can do it user-friendly. You know, these doctors from Contair over here, they're using it and they are completely fine with it. But there are smart people, of course, but I suppose you are as well. And I also would like to say that you have a lot of good tooling as well. And I'm not quite sure about, is it possible for to configure your maintaining tool to your own terminology installation?
You're talking about like the managed service tooling?
Sorry?
Are you thinking about the managed service tooling? Or like you're talking about authoring, but I don't know which part.
Everything, pretty much everything.
It's theoretically possible, but we haven't really taken your layer 3, which is the thorough documentation. So you do need to be very technical and ask lots of questions, and it's kind of a struggle. All our stuff's open source, but it's not easy to put it together and configure. I guess you just need a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I'm not steering people that way.
No, I understand.
Unless they're very technical. Yeah. I've got a question actually, if I may. If people are thinking of setting up a terminology server, should they aim for a national terminology server that covers the whole country, or should they aim for something else?
It's a very good question. I think both. So in Norway, the NRC has 3 Snowstorm installations, which are very important for maintaining and distributing the terminology. But we have 2 as a company, and that's in order to our use cases. You know, we have our own namespace and our own extension as well, right? So that's something. But we work very closely and good together with the Norwegian NRC, but they have a lot of customers to take care of. So we need some time to do things faster. But if you have your own installation, it's extremely important to be aligned with the national. So you need to have it updated every month. Yeah, goes without saying, but it's important.
Is there any more questions in the room? Yeah, please.
Just a quick comment from the platform that I'm representing. So we have been through that process of having files sent and then going to IPI solution. That has been a huge difference for us in terms of having control on both ends, and also the steadiness and the predictability of receiving and also communicating regarding the content. So very much recommended.
Thank you very much.
You feel like you're thinking about us all the time.
Thank you so much, Mona. A bourbon on me tonight.
The other thing which I suppose is relevant here is SNOMED International are working on standards for distributing these files between terminology servers automatically. So we use the term syndication. So in theory, an NRC could publish their content in a service, and then the other APIs could pull the content. So no one's like downloading files manually. And those downstream services should be aware when a new version's available, and it should be push button to get the new version in. So yes, that's another advancement that we're kind of working on, the standards. Australia already have some of these standards in place and are kind of borrowing their work. They're happy because it'll be an international standard. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. I think we'll close this one to a close.